So certainly, My Life and Work by Henry Ford, right, is an insightful autobiography here that delves into Ford's journey, from farm boy, to the founder of the Ford Motor Company, right. It's not just a memoir, right. It's a blueprint for innovation, efficiency, and ethical business practices. So I have the detailed summary of my book of my life. The name of the book is My Life and Works, right. Okay, so here Ford's early life and vision. So Henry Ford grew up on a farm here, but his fascinating with mechanics led him to pursue engineering. His early exposure to machinery shaped his vision of creating a horseless carriage, right, an automobile here that would be affordable and accessible to the masses, right. Okay, so here the birth of the Ford Motor Company. Ford's entrepreneurial journey was marked by failures before he financially and finally he established the Ford Motor Company. His persistence paid off when he introduced the Model T, a revolutionary vehicle that transformed transportation, right. The assembly here line innovation. One of Ford's most significant contribution was the development of assembly line. By streamlining productions, by he drastically reduced costs and made automobiles affordable for the average American. These innovations not only changed manufacturing but also influenced industrial worldwide, right. So business philosophy and ethics here. Ford believed that businesses should serve society rather than focus solely on profit. He advocated for fair wages, right, efficient processes, and quality product. His famous principle is here, service must come before profile, right. Emphasize the importance of ethical business practices. So here the social responsibility and the community development, right. Beyond automobiles here, Ford applied his principles to healthcare and education. He established hospitals and schools, believing that businesses should contribute to societal well-being. Ford's view on competition and here leadership, right. Ford rejected here traditional notions of competition here, arguing that businesses should focus on improving their product, right, rather than here undermining rivals, right. His leadership style here emphasized innovation, efficiency, and employee welfare. Legacy and impact here, Ford's ideas continue to shape modern business practices, right. His emphasis on affordability, efficiency, and ethical leadership remains relevant today. So when did Henry Ford write my book, My Work, My Life and Work, right. So in collaboration with Samuel Crowther, he wrote My Life and Work 1922, at 1922, Today and Tomorrow 1926, Moving Forward 1930, right, 1930, which described the development of Ford Motors Company and outlined his industrial and social theories. So certainly Henry Ford, in collaboration here with Samuel Crowther, wrote a series of books that outlined his journey as an industrialist and his vision for business, society, and technological advancement. So Henry Ford's here writing and their significance here, My Life and Work 1922. This book serves as an autobiography and a business philosophy guide. Ford discusses here his early life, right, the founding of the Ford Motor Company and the principles behind his industrial success. He emphasizes efficiency, innovation, and social responsibility, sharing his views on leadership, competition, and here the role of industry in shaping society. The book provides here insight into the thinking that led to the development of the assembly line and mass production. Today and Tomorrow 1926. This book expands on Ford's ideas from My Life and Work, diving deeper into his philosophies and on technological progress, right, productivity and economic principles here. Ford explores ways to improve manufacturing efficiency, reduce waste, and create a business model that benefits both workers and consumers. He advocates for continuous innovation and believes that industries, should focus on long-term societal progress rather than short-term profit. So moving forward, 1930 here, written in the aftermath of 1929 stock market crash and the beginning of Great Depression, right? Okay, so here, moving forward, right, presents Ford's thoughts on economic recovery and business adaptation in tough times, right? So he reflects, I mean to say, on the lessons learned from past successes and here failures, urging business leaders to remain resilient and forward thinking. His emphasis here on here decentralization, sustainable economic practices, and the importance of education makes this book particularly relevant, right? So Ford's legacy here, through his writing, each of these books encapsulated, right, Ford's belief that industry should serve humanity. His writing go beyond automobiles, offering principles on leadership, education, right, and societal development. Ford's emphasize here on efficiency and innovation transform manufacturing and business operations globally. His vision here continues to influence modern corporate strategies and entrepreneurial thinking, right? So here Henry Ford's quotes reflect his deep-seated belief in productivity, responsibility, and here the sealed sources of value creation. So let's break it down. Nothing can be made except by makers. Nothing can be managed except by managers. Okay, here money cannot make anything, and money cannot manage anything, right? So this quote emphasizes here Ford's philosophy that true innovation and progress come from people, here not from money and finance systems. He show wealth as a byproduct of productivity work, right, rather than a force that drives creation itself. Ford believes that industries should focus on the ingenuity and here skill of makers, workers, engineers, designers, and the vision of managers, rather than relying on money as a primary driver of success. His perspective challenges businesses that prioritize financial manipulation over real production, right? It aligns with his larger philosophy that meaningful work should be at the center of economic activities, not speculative investment or profit seeking without tangible contribution. Two classes of people lose money: those who are too weak to guard what they have, right? Those who win money by trick. They both lose in the end, right? Ford draws here distinction between two types of financial failures: those who are too weak to guard what they have. These individuals here may not manage their resources wisely and lack the strategic foresight to protect their financial position. He warns against complacency and the importance of diligence, right? Diligence important of diligence in perceiving success. Those who win money by trick for criticizing dishonest financial gains, right, arguing that their wealth obtained through deception and manipulation does not lead to long-term prosperity. He believes that unethical shortcuts ultimately undermine success, as they lack of stability and their integrity of true value creation. His statement reflects his commitment, right, to honest business practices and sustainable economic principles. Ford admired here industriousness and believed that hard work, strategic thinking, and ethical conduct were the foundation of the lasting success. Ford's broader philosophy here, both quotes here align with Ford's larger vision of business and society. So he valued actually craftsmanship, efficiency, and the contribution of individual over mere financial transactions. He opposed reckless speculation and sought to create industries that benefited both workers and consumers. He believed that businesses should serve people rather than exploit economic systems for short-term profit. His ideas remain relevant today, especially in discussions about ethical leadership, sustainable entrepreneurship, and the role of real innovation in economic success. So what are the three describes Henry Ford's? These are the leadership traits and qualities that made Henry Ford so successful. He had vision, he was creative, he was determined, he was persistent, he was ambitious, he was, emotionally intelligent, right? He was an explorer. Ford believed in equality, right? So Henry Ford was visionary, right? Industrialist whose leadership traits shaped not only the automotive industry, but also modern business practices, right? So let's explore his defining qualities in depth. Visionary thinking here, right? First, Ford had transformative vision, right? He wanted to make automobiles accessible, to common man. At a time when cars were, considered luxury items for the wealthy, he envisioned, a world where transportation was here affordable and efficient. His Model T, launched in 1908, revolutionized personal mobility, and his assembly line, innovation here made mass production possible. His ability to see beyond immediate challenges and envision a future where machine serves humanity was central to his success. Creativity and innovation here. Ford wasn't just an industrialist. He was an innovator. He consistently sought ways to simplify processes, reduce cost, and increase efficiency. Efficiency. The introduction of the moving assembly line in 1913 drastically reduced production time and set a precedent for a manufacturing worldwide. His creativity extended beyond automobiles. He's explored ideas in agriculture, urban development, and even social reforms. Ford's experiments here with materials like soy-based plastics and his interest in here alternative energy sources were far ahead of his time. So determination and persistence here, right? So Ford faced multiple failures before establishing the Ford Motor Company in 1903. His first automobiles venture collapsed, right? And he struggled to gain investor confidence. However, he remained relentless, refining his designs and business strategies until he succeeded, right? His determination was evident in his refusal to compromise on quality and affordability, even when faced with oppositions from competitors and financial pressures. So ambitious and boldness here. Ford wasn't just satisfied with building cars, right? He wanted to change the world. His ambition led him to experience with new business models, including offering higher wages to his workers in 1914, the famous $5 work day, right? Which attracted skilled labor and boosted productivity. So he boldly took on the banking industry by eliminating reliance and on here financial institutions for funding his operations, preferring self-sustaining business models. So emotional intelligence and leadership, right? Okay, so here Ford understood the importance of human relationships in business. He believed that workers were more than just laborers. They were stakeholders in his company's success, right? In company's success, his welfare policies, including better wages and shorter work hours, demonstrated a level of emotional intelligence uncommon in industrial leaders of his era. So he valued employees satisfaction and believed that treating workers well led to higher productivity. So explorers mentality here. Ford had restless curiosity, constantly seeking new possibilities here. Whether it was his attempt to build a utopian industrial city or his interest in aviation, he was always exploring new frontiers. He believed that industries should evolve, and embrace change rather than remain stagnant. Believe in equality and social responsibility. So Ford action reflected his belief in equality. Though not always perfectly executed. His $5 workday policy was groundbreaking, as it allowed factory workers to create a living wages, right? So making middle class life more attainable. He also campaigned he also championed hiring here diversity. employing here immigrants, right, and individuals from different backgrounds. However, his views on social issues were complex. While he here advocated fair wages, and some of his ideological beliefs were controversial. So Ford's legacy here. So here Henry Ford's leadership traits left an enduring mark on the business world, right? So his vision here reshaped transportation. His creativity revolutionized industrial production. His determination overcame setbacks, right? His ambition drove large scale economic change. His emotional intelligence fosters worker loyalty. His employer's mindset led to groundbreaking innovations, right? His beliefs in equality influences labor policy, right? Ford was not without flaws, right? But his contribution to industry and society continues to the study as examples of transformative leadership, right? His systems thinking approach, where he considered the broader impact of his business decisions, resonates with here today's leaders seeking sustainable growth. Right, so Henry Ford's leadership was defined by the innovation, efficiency, and profound understanding of industry and society. Right, his greatness here, success was just his invention of the assembly line, right? But his ability to apply visionary thinking to revolutionize mass production. So let's break it down, by that why Ford is recognized as a transformational leader, right? So visionary approach to manufacturing, right? Before Ford here, automobiles were handcrafted luxury items, inaccessible to the average person, right? Ford envisions here a future where cars would be affordable and widely available. Okay, so he wasn't the first to build here automobiles, but he was the first to implement large scale production that could bring cost down and make automobiles a staple of everyday life. His ability to here see beyond the status here quo and push for accessible made him a true leader, right? The assembly line and mass production here, Ford's greatest innovation, and bringing the moving assembly line to car manufacturing in 1913. Inspired by the flow processes in your meat packing and watch factories, he applied the principles of divisions of labor to automobile production. Instead of having workers construct an entire car individually, each worker is specialized in a single task, and the car moved along mechanized conveyor belt. So this resultant in here drastically reduced production time. Here building a model T went from 12 hours to 90 minutes, right? Lower cost here, the price of model T drops from $825 in 1908 to $260 in 1925, making it widely accessible, right? How higher productivity, Ford's factories could produce thousands of cars daily, okay, transforming the industry here. So this level of your efficiency reshaped not only automobiles production but manufacturing worldwide. Ford's techniques were soon adapted in industries ranging from consumers good to military equipment, right? Third is here leadership in workforce development. Unlike many industrial leaders of his time, Ford recognized the importance of his workforce, right? In 1914, he shocked the business world by introducing the $5 workday, which doubled the average factory wage. His reasons were strategic: employing retention, higher wages, reduced turnover, and increased workers satisfaction. Here increased productivity. Here well-paid workers were more motivated and efficient. Expanded here consumer base. If workers earned more, right, they could afford Ford cars, stimulating demands. This approach laid the groundwork for modern labor economics, right, demonstrating that investing in workers benefits both business and society. Right, so Ford's business here philosophy continuous improvement. Ford embodies here Cajun-like thinking, constantly seeking way to improve efficiency and reduce waste. Right, he famously rejected traditional banking and financial methods, preferring to run his company with self-sustaining revenue rather than relying on investors. His philosophy was simple: make quality products efficiently, right, sell them at the lowest possible price, pay workers well to drive demand. This cycles of continuous improvement was revolutionary, and his cost cutting strategies influenced business models worldwide. So Ford's impact, beyond automobiles here. Ford's leadership, had extended beyond car manufacturing, right? Industrial expansion, if I'm talking about, he explored aviation, rubber production, right, and agriculture technologies. Educational reforms here, he established, schools focused on practical skills and vocational training. So philanthropy and healthcare, he built hospitals and contributed to the medical research. He believed in businesses serving society rather than mere profit making. Made him a thought leader in ethical capitalism, right? Long-term influence on leadership and business, right? Ford's leadership here shaped modern industries in several ways. Mass production principles here, his innovations become the foundation of manufacturing system worldwide. Affordable goods strategy here, his pricing model influenced consumers economics and competitive business strategies. Employing centric business models here, his wage policies paved the way for labor rights and ethical workforce management, right? His leadership wasn't without flaws. His resistance to change later in life led to missed opportunities, and some of his social views were controversial, but his core principles remain a blueprint for innovation driven leadership, right? So the conclusion of the point is here, of that particular book summary here, Henry Ford wasn't just an industrialist. He was a leader, who changed the way businesses operate. His ability to balance here innovation, efficiency, and social responsibilities, made him a pioneer. His legacy extended beyond automobiles. His principles in manufacturing, workers relations and affordability continue to influence leaders across industries, right? So this is all about the book of my life and work, right? So yeah.